Ladies and gentlemen, it has arrived! The RTX 4090 is in the studio, but quite how it's happened, I genuinely have no idea. We've got 1, 2, and 3. And in this video, we're going to unbox them all, tell you everything I think you need to know, and start the conversation about whether a £1,700 graphics card could possibly be worth it. Here's your sneak peek. Look, you can find out everything that's in this box after a short word from this video's sponsor.
Corsair's DDR5 is here for your next generation PC. With Intel XMP and AMD Expo kits available, no matter your platform, Corsair has you covered. You can now even get Vengeance DDR5 in RGB flavor to make your PC look even brighter. Get yours today with the link down below.
If you can't already tell, I'm extremely excited, and here we have the brand new Gamerock from Palit, we have the top-end Master from Gigabyte Aorus, and then in this box we have the one you've probably been waiting for, the Founders Edition. So let's waste absolutely no time whatsoever and open our Founders Edition box. Slightly different to normal. We have like an inner package. I'm not entirely sure whether yours will come like this, but because this has come straight from Nvidia, I would guess that it probably does. But now onto what very much looks like an Xbox Series X. I think you're probably expecting a fair bit more performance from this though. Let's take off the packaging. Ta-da! And here it is, the GeForce RTX 4090 in a brand new font that personally I don't really like. It looks a little bit basic, but obviously it doesn't affect the performance of the product. It says there are some tabs here to tear. That's 1, that's 2, and then the whole thing should lift up, and there it is, the RTX 4090. And it's looking a little bit more normal, but I think when we lift this out, it's going to look absolutely ridiculous. I mean, head to graphics card scale, that's a lot. It is a lot thicker than we're used to. Obviously this is all about dissipating the heat because this is going to use quite a lot of power. I believe if you want to overclock this you can get into like silly like 5, maybe even 600 watts pumping into this. I'm not necessarily saying this exact graphics card will be able to do that, that's why we have AIB cards here, but the fact of the matter is a bigger heatsink means lower noise, and it means you can achieve more power to actually go into this thing. But we will be testing that when we're allowed to do it at a slightly later date. So get subscribed for the full review. Just for reference, by the way, this is an RTX 3070 Ti, so this is the 3070 Ti and 3080 cooler. And yes, that is quite a big difference there. I mean, the size of the fans alone, look at that. That's huge. I mean, this is a 120, isn't it, basically? A 120 fan actually in a graphics card. At least it looks to scale. It's a big chunky thing and it is going to be noticeable, but it doesn't necessarily look out of place, or at least it doesn't at the moment. We can take the PCI tab off, still using PCI Generation 4, not 5. DisplayPort, we have 3 of them, and sadly they're not the new DisplayPort 2.0. And I guess it doesn't really matter too much at the moment because there aren't really any displays that use this, and when this card was developed, it wasn't a standard spec, or at least it wasn't available in time for them to actually put on this. Maybe that's just a way of getting you to buy the next gen of graphics card, but for the time being, I don't think it's going to really matter to 99.9% of the people, but in the future, I guess maybe it will. They are marketing this as an 8K 60 graphics card as well, so 8K 120, not happening. Let's put this down for a second and see what else we get in the box. And one of the things is not quite such good news. It is a power adapter that is, just like the old gen, gonna look quite ugly. And oh my God, it's got worse. It's got worse. There are 4 of them now. 4 of them. That is just awful, isn't it? It was bad with 2, and then the RTX 3090 Ti had 3 in the most recent build that you can find in the top right corner of your screen with a Ryzen CPU. I complained about that so much when it was finished because the whole PC looked really ugly. If you're using 4, I'm sorry, but your rig is going to look pretty trash. Fortunately, there is a solution to this problem though, and that is to contact your PSU manufacturer, or I suppose buy a new power supply, but I wouldn't really suggest that unless you absolutely need to, because they can supply you with one of these. Assuming you have a modular PSU, you can get these little adapter cables that are just new cables that plug straight into your power supply. And then you have this 16-pin adapter, which is a 12 plus 4, which confusingly is different to the previous generation, because while the connector looks the same, if you look very closely on this B-roll that I've now filmed, you'll notice that there aren't actually the 4 pins above, the extra ones that turns this into the 16-pin. I imagine when you go down to the lower end SKUs, you're probably going to see the 12-pin return, but a 16-pin is the way to go. And if you do buy a new power supply in the next couple of years, chances are they'll start to come with these cables as standard. Now, there is a little bit of controversy though about these new cables and adapters, because I believe, if I heard correctly, they're only going to work for was it like 30 times plugging in and out? Which, granted, for most people is going to be fine, but that doesn't really spell longevity, does it? Something like USB-C is thousands of times, if not tens, hundreds of thousands. That's what this thing will look like, by the way. It's like the graphics card has grown limbs and it's just doing its own thing. And when I unplug this, that is one less plug cycle now available on this graphics card. So if you're gonna plan to use this on loads of different PCs all the time, that's a little bit worrying. I guess you could just leave the adapter plugged in. Now, unfortunately, I'm not allowed to plug this into a computer and show you what it would look like, which is sad, but I'm a bit of a rule breaker, a bit of a maverick, so I'm gonna technically not break the rules, but push the boat out a bit. Because, oh my God, there's a loose graphics card, oh my God. Because what we're going to do is to put our graphics card near our PC. And I think this is also a good opportunity to show you what a more normal, big graphics card looks like in comparison. Like, look at that, that is mad. So what we're not allowed to do is physically put this in the slot, but I can put it near the slot, look, there you go. You see what that looks like? Oh, look at this rig, look. This is not plugged in, nothing is connected. And actually, it doesn't look as ridiculous as I thought, to be fair. I mean, obviously it looks very big, but I don't think that looks silly. I think that looks quite nice, actually. If you did want to go for a vertical GPU mount, I mean, this case doesn't actually support it, so we're gonna pretend. Remember, it's not plugged in, we're not breaking any rules. It will look something along the lines of this. What do you reckon? Is that absurd? I mean, using this in a vertical GPU mount is not a good idea because there'd be glass here, so I wouldn't actually recommend that, but that's what the rig will look like. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. Don't know what this tab is for on the back, by the way. I think it's just for taking bits off, I guess. It's magnetic. And you've got some weird screw things here. Must be for taking it apart, because I don't see the same tabs that we had before. This X will remove and there'll be loads of screws and things that you can get into here and put like a third-party cooler or a water block on. So it must be with these holes. But let us move on to GPU number 2, the Palit Gamerock Midnight Kaleidoscope, which is a cool name. And I always have sort of mixed opinions on the Palit Gamerock cards because they look great to some people, not to everyone. So you buy it if you like the look of it. If you don't, you probably don't. But because it's a Palit card, you can usually get pretty good value for what is a very expensive graphics card. I'm not sure actually the word value makes any sense here. But compared to something like the Master, you can usually get this for a little bit less, even if the RRPs aren't massively different. But in my eyes, all that really matters, other than the way it looks, if you want a really shiny rig, is the cooling and thermal performance. So I personally would go for the cheapest card that has the most quiet performance, I guess. I'm personally not too fussed about overclocking it as far as it can go. I just want something that is going to make minimal noise and still have better clocks than the Founders Edition. And this could be it. This is massive. This is ridiculous. Definitely a lot more of a darker look, actually, than the previous generation. The card itself, I don't know actually if it's that much bigger. I'll go grab it in a second, but obviously we have the same power connection because I think all of these new cards are going to do this. And it does make sense rather than use 4 different pinned connections. It does make sense to have something that is a little bit smaller, and when this becomes standard, it will just work on all graphics cards, so you just have one cable that plugs in. I get the idea there. It'll be interesting to see whether AMD do take the same approach. On the back look, you've also got the same sort of pass-through design, so the air will come through here, blow through, and then these 2 fans are sort of more for the PCB area to keep everything cool there, cool your memory, all of that good stuff. But it's just more of a darker design than last time. It's still like a silvery metal, but I'd call it gunmetal. You've still got that very Guitar Hero-like Gamerock logo. If you like the look of this, and it performs great, go for it. But if you're personally insulted about the way this looks, probably not for you. Always going to divide opinion. Oh, I've just performed surgery, but we have the RTX 3090 Ti next to the 4090. They are very, very similar. They have not changed too much, actually. Thickness, I think this one is slightly thicker now, actually. Yeah, decent amount thicker. So you're going to need a very big case for any of these. Just in case you're upgrading from an old Gamerock, this is a 3070, and you can see the evolution here as things get bigger and bigger. Small, medium, fat, with a PH. Let's give you a quick demo again. NVIDIA, I'm not breaking the rules, this is not plugged in, but that is what it looks like in the Fractal Torrent. Pretty darn good actually, looks better than it did with the old version because you've got more black going on here. I quite like that, other than the fact that the font has changed again a little bit. Not sure about that. 2 down then, and 1 to go. This is our Gigabyte Aorus Master. And true story, I've never actually seen or tested the Master before, so this is going to be a brand new experience for me. And while you're there watching this video, please let me know what games and what things you want me to test in the full reviews, because there will be reviews of every card for launch week. I can tell you I have them now, if that wasn't a secret. So please, genuinely, do let me know what you want me to see. Oh my god, this one's even bigger. Like, are we even unboxing graphics cards right now? Are we onto car components or things? Is this an exhaust? My word. Look at that. Look at it. Are you insane? Are you actually insane? This looks good, but that's bigger than my head now. Look at the head scale. That's absurd. Again, you've got the new font on the top of the graphics card, which is just a bit more rounded. It's almost less NVIDIA-y, really. I don't get why they've done that, but branding changes never really make much sense, do they? I'm not sure how loud or quiet this is going to be, but you'd like to think if you've got a cooler this size on it, this is going to be built for some serious overclocking, and it is going to be built for lower noise levels, I guess. I mean, again, pass-through design. You've basically got a full-size fan here blowing through there. I think they've missed a trick, actually, because what you could potentially do is have a fan mount here. It's big enough anyway, and then you could just attach another fan to it. Like, if it's sitting in your rig like that, whack another fan on it, bam, even better cooling. Probably not necessary, but maybe that's something we'll test in a future video. Will it make a difference? Exactly the same connector on the top. You've got your 16 pin, so your 12 plus 4. But look, there's your scale difference. Suddenly this seems small. Look at that. Look at that. But it does look as if you've got this little RGB light up panel here at the top as well. We'll see if you can customize that. Editor Carl, show us a screenshot. Cheers, my man. One last thing to do, which is to do our plugging it in, but without actually plugging it in. NVIDIA, please don't get upset. Come on, you sent it to me, you expected trouble. Bam, there we go. That's what this thing looks like. Oh, I tell you what, it's not that far away from the edge. It's not plugged in, to be fair. This isn't even a small case. This is what, the H7 Flow, and it basically takes up all of it. Makes it look more full though, doesn't it? It's not a bad looking card. Not a bad looking card whatsoever. But vertical GPU mounts, you're gonna need a very big case. That is huge. I'm extremely curious to hear your thoughts on this. Which one of these cards is your favorite? Do you prefer something that's more tasteful, something that's overbuilt, or something that has loads of RGB bling? Let me know down in the comment section below, and will we be picking any of these up? Is an RTX 4090 for you, or are they just way too expensive? Either way though, smash the like button if you've enjoyed this video. It really helps out. Get subscribed. And if you want to check out current pricing on anything in this rig, or anything really in this setup, you can find all my Amazon affiliate links listed down below.
And while you're down there, why not check out Corsair's DDR5? With Vengeance, Vengeance RGB, and Dominator kits available, there is truly something available for everyone. Corsair stock both Intel XMP and AMD Expo, so with DDR5 you can get faster speeds, lower latencies, and even higher capacities. Get yours today with the link down below.
Thank you so much for watching this video. I'll catch you in the next one.